Thank you, Umar. I request our principal, Professor Dr. Aftab Anwar Sheikh, to formally welcome the gatherer.
Good morning to one and all. At the very outset, I take this opportunity to welcome the dignitaries present here, offline and online, to grace the inaugural session of this research methodology workshop. It is an honor and privilege for me to extend a warm welcome to a distinguished personality, Dr. Sanjay Kaptan. Dr. Sanjay Kaptan, a distinguished professor of commerce and management, is an outstanding academician. Sir is a perfect fit person and a strong foundation for workshop on research methodology and business education. Sir, I welcome you at Poona College of Art, Science and Commerce. I hope definitely provide a platform and research, and it will be very much beneficial to the students who are studying in post-graduation, MA, MCom, and doing the research like MPhil and PhD. I appreciate the hard work of the team, Commerce, and definitely hopeful that Department of Commerce will thrive. Lot of opportunities for the students of Commerce and Management under the leadership of Dr. Nasreen Khan, head of the department, and they are taking follow-up meticulously for the success of this kind of workshops. I am very much thankful to you all for being with us today. I extend our heartiest welcome to all of you and hope that we will continue to have your blessings, good wishes, and wholehearted support. So today we have students of MCom with us, students who are doing PhD. बच्चों, एक इम्पोर्टेंट बात आज हमने सर को जो बुलाने की रखी है, कप्तान सर ये हमको रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी में तो गाइड करते ही करते हैं, और एक डिस्टिंग्विश पर्सनालिटी जो कॉमर्स मैनेजमेंट और इसको एक अलग तरीके से स्टूडेंट के सामने रखने वाली एक पर्सनालिटी है। आज हम लोग अगर 2-3 साल में देखेंगे तो पढ़ने वाले लोग चले गए, अभी कोई पढ़ता ही नहीं है। ये भी सब लोग को लगता है कि जबरदस्ती से आज हम लोग आके इधर बैठे हुए, और ये कभी खत्म होगा ऐसा सबके दिमाग में बैठा हुआ है क्या कि हम लोग कभी यहां से निकल जाओ। तो आज बहुत दिनों के बाद में आप लोग यहाँ पे आए हो, एकदम काम क्वाइट सर को सुनना है। अगर हम लोग आज नहीं सुनेंगे तो हमको रिसर्च कभी दिमाग में नहीं घुसेगा। हम लोगों ने कभी पढ़ाई नहीं की, जब भी की वो सिर्फ एग्जाम के लिए की, और एग्जाम के बाद में हमने उसको कभी बुक को भी खोला नहीं और जो चिट्ठी थी उसको भी खोला नहीं। और 2 साल में ऑनलाइन सब कुछ आ गया, और ऑनलाइन में हमने कुछ पढ़ा नहीं है क्या। ऑनलाइन में हम 4-4, 5-5 लोग साथ में बैठे, एग्जाम दे दिया, पास हो गए, सब लोग खुश हो गए, अच्छी बात है। लेकिन अभी नहीं चलेगा, अभी रिसर्च को समझो। सर आज जो बताने वाले इसको समझो, और इसको बोधरेशन मत समझो, इसको प्रेशर मत समझो। ईद के पहले तुम लोग के लिए रखा है, क्योंकि बोले ईद के बाद में फिर लोग फिर वापस 8-10 दिन जाएंगे, फिर और थोड़ा दिन निकल जाएगा। हम चाहते कि हमारा जो स्टूडेंट है वो स्टूडेंट रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी को समझे, वो स्टूडेंट समझे कि हमको पेपर कैसे लिखना है। हमको कुछ नहीं आता, सॉरी टू से, आज कोई पढ़ने वाला ही नहीं मिल रहा, आज कोई किताब पढ़ने वाला नहीं मिल रहा। ये सब चीजें जब तक हम लोग नहीं पढ़ेंगे, सर आप लोग को सब कुछ बताने वाले। तो आज यहाँ जो आप लोग बैठे हो, कोई भी बीच में से जाना नहीं है, कोई घाई करना नहीं है, कोई टेंशन लेना नहीं है, एकदम ओपन माइंडेड यहाँ पे बैठो। आज तुम लोग इसको जबरदस्ती समझो या जो भी समझना है समझो, हमको आपको ये देना है। इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट हाउ टू राइट अ रिसर्च पेपर। हर बच्चा, हमारा बीबीए का बच्चा है रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी पढ़ता है, एमकॉम का बच्चा भी रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी पढ़ के चला गया या अभी पढ़ने वाला है, पीएचडी में भी आ गया, उसको रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी का बुक पूछो पता नहीं रहता कौन सा बुक है, इन्हें कुछ नहीं मालूम। तो आज आप लोग को समझना है, इसलिए हमने एक जबरदस्त पर्सनैलिटी बुलाई हुई है. ही इज ए पर्सन हु कैन गिव इनसाइट अबाउट रिसर्च, इनसाइट अबाउट हाउ टू राइट रिसर्च पेपर्स. जब तक आप लोग पेपर लिखना नहीं सीखेंगे तब तक कोई फायदा आप लोग का नहीं है. सब लोग का शौक है टीचर बनना. टीचर ऐसे नहीं बन सकता. टीचर बनने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ पढ़ना पड़ेगा, कुछ ना कुछ सोचना पड़ेगा. तो आज सर हमारे साथ में. सर वंस अगेन आई वेलकम यू. और सर ने हमारे लिए आज भी टाइम दिया है. सर बालेवाड़ी से आए हुए हैं और आप लोग के लिए खास हमने उनको बुलाया है. तो वंस अगेन आई वेलकम यू ऑल. और सब लोग शांत, कोई बीच पे जाएगा नहीं. 2-2.5 घंटा जितना भी है वो 3 घंटा भी हो सकता है. तो आप लोग शांति से बैठो, शांति से सुनो और कोई चुलबुल नहीं, हलचल नहीं, एकदम शांति से आज हमको पढ़ना और सुनना है. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, sir. I request Priyanka Mukherjee to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Sanjay Kaptan.
A very good morning to all of you, and it's time for the most awaited moment and my pleasure to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Sanjay Kaptan sir of today's workshop on research methodology. So Dr. Sanjay Kaptan sir is former head of Department of Commerce, SPPU. He was also chair professor, GS Safka chair of banking. Dr. Kaptan sir has worked on various important positions like Director, Department of Business Administration, Amravati University, Professor, Department of Commerce, SNDT Women's University, Mumbai, Director, Janki Devi Bajaj Institute of Business Management, Mumbai. He has nearly 35 years of teaching experience to his credit. He has authored several books in the area of management, marketing, finance, banking, and commerce. Professor Kaptan sir has written 5 volumes of Encyclopedia of Commerce. Sir has delivered lectures on various channels. He has also published nearly 35 papers in reputed journals, number of papers and articles in national and international. He is recipient of State Teachers Award of the State Government of Maharashtra. He is bagged Best Teachers Award of Amravati University, Best Teacher Award of SNDT Women's University. SPPU has honored with Innovative Teacher Award. He is also recipient of 4 awards for outstanding contribution to literature of State Government of Maharashtra. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Priyanka. I humbly request our principal, Dr. Aftab Anwar sir, to felicitate our guest of honor, Dr. Sanjay Kaptan. Yes. Now I would like to request our chief guest, Dr. Sanjay Kaptan, to guide us on how to write a research paper.
Okay. But voice will be audible? Please. Is it okay that you can listen to me very clearly? Fine, thank you. First of all, I thank Dr. Anwar Sheikh for inviting me here. This occasion of workshop on research methodology. The topic that I am going to discuss today is how to write a research paper. Before I start, I thank the faculty members and my colleagues and friends, as well as my students, for inviting me here. And let me tell you very frankly, the process of writing research paper is a very later stage of process of research. Unless and until you are well versed with the process of research, it is difficult to write a research paper. So we shall start with the concept of research and then we shall try to understand how to write a research paper. If you do not mind, I will come ahead so that I can see the slides and I can explain you better. First slide. Please, first slide. After this. Yeah. First of all, what is the idea of research? The idea of research basically is related with searching something new, identifying something which is not known to us, which we have not understood rightly, or the phenomena or the event which needs a right explanation. Naturally, research starts with an attitude of inquiry. Many of us see many things, interpret them properly, cannot explain the reasons behind them in an effective manner. The result, we fail to explain why a phenomena has occurred in a specific manner. There are many simple devices which are easy to use. Whenever someone has identified logic to develop that device, then we feel that it is very simple. Otherwise, we feel that this is very complex. A very simple example that I will like to put forward: your smart mobile. You are using it for almost 5-7 years now. Have you ever thought how the idea of a mobile phone came into existence? How the idea of connectivity, internet came into existence? It is very difficult to imagine. But now, because of habit of usage, we use mobile phones so easily, and we have so many devices which are now clubbed in the mobile phone that we feel that this is very simple. You can easily sing a song, listen to a song, transmit messages and information, make bank transactions happen through your mobile phone and what not. But the person who developed this was not aware of this kind of change that the society will witness. He thought that this is a simple device only for communication from one room of one lab to another in Switzerland, CERN. There is another thing, scientific application of scientific method. Any device is nothing but application of technology. But many of the devices which we are using today, never imagined by man, before someone has made an attempt. You all must be listening to music, watching cinemas, but have you heard how these devices came into existence? We never thank Ethan for that matter or Mr. But remember, they have changed our life. And of course, the most important thing about research, it is a state of mind. Only the people who think rationally, the people who have a vision, the people who have an attitude to inquire, people who have an attitude to question, they can find out something. We all see rainbows. We all see many things around. But a simple question that I would like to ask you: how it was found that the shape of Earth is round? How man developed this idea? It is a very simple experiment which any one of you can do easily. Just go to the seashore and watch a ship. You will notice that for some time you see the ship and then it disappears on the horizon. It is because of the shape of Earth. But this is a simple thing. It is a result of exhibition of scholarship and state of mind. Unless and until we develop this state of mind, questioning, developing a vision, cannot go for research. Next. So what is the concept of research paper? I will start with a very simple research paper that I have read some years ago. It is related with commerce and that is why I want to quote this. This is a paper written by Manish R. Dey. This paper was first published in a journal, Economic and Political Research. The title of the paper was In Search of a Style. What was the gist of the paper? Please try to understand. This paper was written in rather late 60s and early 70s. Mr. Nitish Dey has noticed one important thing. Most of the managers who are presently heading Indian companies, especially good companies, middle or senior level, do not have any rapport with the workers. They do not know the psychology of the worker because they come from elite classes. They are trained, educated in convent school. They have taken degrees from best of the management institutions in the psychology and sociology of Indian workers. That is why a manager becomes an island far away from the mainland. And therefore, he is always in search of a right. In a very small paper of 60 pages, he became an international authority. Second thing, very important thing, critical thinking. Every research paper, rather a good research paper, is a reflection of critical thinking. Please try to understand. It is a shape. मजनू की नजर से देख, हर चीज में एक लैला है. But लेकिन to understand, you need that vision, you need that nazar, without which you cannot. It is a critical thinking, a way of rational thinking, a way of questioning. See, everyone can see, but very few people can observe. To observe a phenomena automatically leads to develop a research thinking, and that is how a good research paper comes into being. Most important thing, it refutes or establishes a new concept or idea. Please try to understand. Hundreds of ideas, concepts, theories that we study in economics. How many of these concepts are really valid today? Example, we all feel that with every increase in prices, the demand declines, as it is told us, whether we are taught in school in India are continuously increasing. So the demand come down, is it? The demand is not coming. What it means? Sometimes certain theories which are taught to us are not necessarily valid. But how we justify them? By giving some empirical evidence. This empirical evidence, that is what is the purpose of research paper. Please next. Next please. Sir, next slide. So what is the meaning of research paper? It can be an essay, it can be a treatise, it can be a critical explanation with certain key concepts which are tested. I will give again one more example to prove my point. There are answers to me. I hope you all are familiar with the name William Shakespeare. He was a great playwright. Almost 300 years he has ruled the world of literature. Now my question is very how many? I can tell you all the names. I have read many. Okay, no problem. The conventional answer is 37. But was actually written by William Shakespeare. And what he has done, he was a smart editor. Most of the plays were existence before Shakespeare. You have heard about Hamlet. Shakespeare has given two different names to the same play, Prince of Denmark and Hamlet. Found of likewise, Love's Labour Lost, and likewise. So whenever you go for research, you understand what are the things which are prevailing, why they are and why they are not. Second thing, we all go by certain presumption. That is a common human being tendency, very simple tendency, that we presume certain things. We never verify them. It's a common belief. The people from South India, it's true. You take a sample of 150 South Indians, ask them to write an essay, and find out to what extent, evaluate them. That we don't go by these means. We rather believe that people in Bengal are more good at, are good at math. Not necessarily. You know, some names for good mathematicians who belong to Bengal. That South Indian is always good at English. But this is what is a presumption. This is what is a hypothesis. When we verify it by making and when we reach a claim, then we write a good research. Next please. Next please. So what is required? To write a good research paper, we need scientific writing. I shall explain this concept because most of you are, so you will definitely need a right understanding of the science. writing and what is a topic writing. Please try to understand an original contribution. Things which were not known to us earlier, and in the manner they should have been made known to us, was not given right understanding to us. That is called as original contribution. Second thing, convey ideas about scientific work. Please try to understand. Simple thing. I throw a ball and it always comes down. We know it, even we were knowing it for last 2 years. But till Newton came on the horizon of science, we were not knowing the reasons. Gravitation. So what Newton has done, he changed, giving some right understanding about a phenomenon. That is original contribution. Critical thinking and presentation. One example I want to quote is very important from sociology. That Indian society is paternalistic. Every is a male, and it is a male-dominated society. There was one whose name was Dr. Srinivas, who studied Indian family for a pretty. This is all false. The mother, the wife, sisters, or some other female member in the family usually and all are accepted by the female member, then they are accepted by. So I have come across one poster. In my home, I am the king. Just try to understand. Very important. Whenever you think in a scientific manner, we understand many things. Innovative ideas. The real purpose of scientific writing is innovative ideas. Just try to understand. So many ideas which apparently appear impossible for us suddenly came on the horizon of science, and then we easily accept them. Just try to understand. One simple idea will change all of us. When I was a young boy, I used to meet my friends in the hotel, in a particular hotel, every day at evening 6 o'clock, and I used to get coffee. Today, how many of you do this? On the contrary, on your WhatsApp group, communicate, but the mode of communication has changed. The media has now become a dominant platform. So naturally, to people, especially to communicate people, has also changed. So what kind of change came? It is a mode of communication, and it has brought a sea change in our way of thinking. Have not started as to why people behave like this. That requires scientific writing. Next please. Next please. Now, what is a good research paper? I will just highlight 2 or 3 important things. First, it must have one specific objective, and it should have some empirical data to the point. By time, good research, wonderful research paper from science or social science. We believe strongly that this change in the climate is because, and there are many people who keep on constantly writing about conditions and global warming, etc., etc. So a paper was published in here. It has changed the entire concept of. They have collected data for last 10 years in a systematic manner, years of parameters, evaluated it. Finally, that industrial pollution causes only 1.5% of change in the environment. Rest of the changes are natural. That is, nature itself is changing. It is not the gas industry or something like that. So the community, that is the only responsible factor for global warming has now gone. Change in thinking has changed the entire thinking of scientific community. But it required a lot of comparative and original data. If we do not have data, then we cannot conclude, we cannot comment upon. Next. Now, what are the features of good research paper? The first and the most important thing is insight. Change my way of thinking, has given some new knowledge inputs to me, to my understanding about a phenomena, about a particular scientific thinking, event, etc. That is original. That is very important. A good research. Please try to. I will do more. We all know about trade unions. There was a time in India, the trade unions were a very strong force. In banks, everywhere, they were so dominant that they could conduct a strike for 15 days, 20 days, 3 months, 4 months, and they could force government to act its demand. What is the situation today? If bank employees go on strike for 2 days, we even do not notice it. We do not understand whether there is a strike or not. The power of the trade unions has declined, diminished, and the role of trade union has changed. So recently one research paper came, the growing importance of the militant role of trade union has declined. This research paper has taken a study of 50 major strikes that have taken place in last decade and proved there are never any authority or agency or the understanding about trade union has changed. Second thing, specific conclusion. A good research paper focuses only on good conclusion, right conclusion, conclusions that help us to understand a theory, to understand a data, develop something new. And therefore, if at all we say I want to write a good research paper, then I must focus on writing something which will result into very good conclusions. Another important thing is original. Please try to understand what happens. I am not commenting or criticizing someone, but this is a common phenomenon. If a new idea first time, one thesis is done on that, then we come across hundreds of people the same doing the research on the same topic, almost socio-economic problems, socio-economic problems of workers in Ahmednagar district, and then in Nashik, and then in Jalgaon. This is absence of originality. Very important thing. Something which can be verified. You must find out something is true. Research papers. I say this because of evidences that I have. That is a good way of writing something, and that is the way of writing a research paper. Next. Now, some important features of a good research paper. Very important feature is uniqueness of title. Many times the titles are very catchy, very appropriate, and exactly focus on the issues researcher wants to hit at. So what happens? You read the title, you feel, "Arey, this is what I wanted." Such the trade union paper which I have just about, the title of the paper was "Missing Links of Trade Union." What the trade unions have missed? And naturally, you start thinking in a different way. I to understand, since 1991, we proceed with a process popularly known as liberalization, privatization, and globalization. But there are effects. One particular economist has studied this, and then what he noticed? Making the poor more poor. Just try to understand. LPG making the poor more poor, and he has studied workers in the informal sector, and what he has proved is very important, that the benefits of LPG were and strata of the society, the underprivileged sections of the society were never benefited because of this. Authenticity, please try to understand. Whenever I say it is research based, it must have some authentic sources of data, and the writer should be able to verify the conclusions and the quality of the data. Only I got this data, and therefore who reads the paper and goes through the same way of analysis should also be able to get the same conclusion. Then only we say it has authenticity. And most important thing is justified claims. In the research paper should not be unnecessarily very tall, should not be misleading, should not be based on any kind of prejudice. This is a common thing that happens with social sciences. Because we go with certain presumptions, we go with certain beliefs, and if at all we believe, we are unwilling to accept them. Or we try to present it in a manner which is not realistic. This is not a justifiable claim. Next please. Now why scientists, scholars, authors, because most of you are thinking of joining this line of academics, becoming a teacher, becoming a researcher, etc. What do we write? First of all, to present new results and new methods and new approach. I will give one example. This is a very, very interesting story of one man. In the 80s, was increasing the wealth of his empire. But he was very ambitious. He wanted to have a very industrial empire in this country. So once he heard about one economist whose name was Dr. Adishesh, who was advisor to the State Bank of India and deputy governor, earlier deputy governor of Reserve Bank of India. When he approached Mr. plan to raise 200 crore rupees from the stock market. So I want to issue of debentures of 200 crore rupees, 1000 rupees each. I am not sure whether I will be able to get crore rupees from the market. Dr. Adishesh said, crore rupees. He said, I am doubtful about 200 and you are thinking of 1500. He said, yes, easily. But you have to change the approach. I have already studied Indian market. The conditions are different. He said, how? Then Dr. Adishesh said to him, you are major cities to attract money from the market. And therefore you are issuing debenture of 1000 rupees. I suggest you issue debentures of 100 rupees, convertible. And you will 100 crore rupees. If my estimate is not wrong, you can even raise 800 crore rupees. In those days, SEBI was not there, please remember. So this man said, okay, I will try this way. So a 100 rupees convertible debenture was first floated called A series debenture. 2 shares assured, that is, and 40 rupees program, that is 140 rupees. That was where the market value of share was 16 crore rupees. So another issue was immediately launched, B series, and then C series, D series, and H series. This became a very big empire in the country. Reliance. The man was Dhirubhai Ambani. Right under real money lies in rural India. You don't think of urban India. And this new approach of understanding market changed the entire scenario. Please try to understand. We all see, we do not observe. Observing the phenomena is what a research insight and rationalization of many results that we come across whenever we really go for a good quality research. Most of the results are because we do not have right method of analyzing it. We do not have a right or commenting on the data. These limitations always exist. So that also influences the quality of your research. That is why scholars keep on writing. I have come across researchers who take only one subject and devote their entire life. This is written biography of one lady, Jane Goodall. Her story will explain you how researchers, scholars really think. She was a woman who was having many limitations because of her physical limitations. Studied in England, 12th. But she was having an ambition that she will study in and going to Kenya. Her mother said, this is not possible for you because you can only speak properly. In spite of these limitations, she decided to go to Kenya and study chimpanzee. The journey of studying animal behavior is to study animal in the zoos. Instead of that, Jane Goodall stayed in Tanzania and Kenya for 18 years with chimpanzees, forest, deep forest, almost far away from human civilization. And then she came out with her research papers. National Geographic considered her as a century. Today, Jane Goodall is center. This is possible. Please try to understand. Next, please. Next, please. Now, where should we write? In scholarly academic journals. Just try to understand. Good journals usually accept quality papers. I'll explain this phenomenon later on at some other stage of time. But please remember, many of you can do outstanding research. I have come across many of my friends whose research was of very great quality, but they have not selected a right platform to publish their claims and findings. It is our fault that we are unaware of scientific journal, quality journal. I often feel that मेरा पेपर कौन छपने वाला है? मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है. But to tell you now one small story again from Dhaka. Hope many of you might have heard about this small village. There is a junior teacher accountancy. He developed a new model of teaching accounting and understood basic principles of accounting. When he submitted his research for MPhil, try to understand where I was working in 2009-10, I was surprised looking at it. That his method of presentation and his way of explaining the concept was very good. So I requested him, why don't you go for a good paper? He was hesitant because he was not familiar with English language. His presentation, his discussion. But my friends, last year I have received a letter from him. His dissertation was translated in English and he submitted to a very good publication. Now he got a patent for it. This is possible. So that is why we should try to write in scholarly journals. They have specific norms. They have specific areas, such as, just try to understand, International Journal of Marketing Research, IJMR, publishes research papers only on marketing research. If I send a paper on accounting, I am not. Why? Because they have a focused area and they focus, and still in spite of this, they publish a large number of papers on a quarterly basis. Second thing, what is the advantage? You understand to what extent we are original. See, many times, it is my experience, you may agree with me. Immediately they start thinking that I am the most intelligent person ever available on this planet Earth, without knowing where do they really stand. The problem is this, that we overestimate in most of the cases and underestimate in very few cases about our own strengths and potential. You compare, you benchmark yourself by writing something on some international platform. You will automatically know where do we stand. Next, please. Generally, people write in popular magazines. What are the popular magazines? There are n number of popular magazines. They publish a wide range of articles because their audience is very large, such as on Bitcoins. Immediately you will come across an article in Sakar newspaper or Sakar's Weekly or Sahyadri or local article. But that is not a research paper. That is just telling what someone else has already written, either translated or rewritten in a different word. That is not writing. Just rewrite. That is not a way of good writing, because there is an absence of good theme, and this is a very generalistic approach. This is for common man, such as a teacher of zoology to know what is Bitcoin. He can read this article and he can get a broad idea. But a teacher of commerce, and if he wants to know what is Bitcoin, then for him this article carries no meaning. Next please. Now what is the role of research paper? First is academic enhancement. Please try to understand. I have seen some people when I was working in Mumbai. One was Dr. Meera Shankar. She started in my institute teacher. Initially, she was a very simple, ordinary, mundane fellow, but then she consistently. Today, she is one of the best columnists for Economic Times, and her column is read very widely everywhere. On every Friday, her column appears. Now, try to understand. When people keep on writing, they improve their understanding, they improve their quality, they improve their competence, they develop a right vision, and then they can rightly comment on different aspects. Most important thing, research paper is very useful to remove misconceptions. Many of us, such as have come across one thesis, a very small thesis. Many of you can take this project for your MCOM. Myths and misconceptions regarding investment avenues amongst educated people. Please try to understand. Myths and misconceptions educated people. हम पढ़े लिखे सयाने समझते हैं, वो कितना गलत सोच सकते हैं इसका आपको अंदाजा नहीं है। कई बार कई लोग ऐसा सोचते हैं कि सिर्फ सोने में ही फायदा है, यानी सोना खरीदने में, या कई बार लोग ऐसा सोचते हैं कि सिर्फ शेयर से ही पैसा मिलने वाला है। ये कई गलत फहमियां होती है। हर वक्त एक ही पर्टिकुलर इन्वेस्टमेंट एवेन्यू काम का नहीं होता है, और हम सोचते हैं वैसा वो काम भी नहीं करता है। But then, whenever you go for original understanding, right understanding, your misconceptions are good. Next, please. Please. Next, please. Sir, जरा आगे चलिए. Now, what is academic enhancement? Just try to understand. We are all students of. This is the basic purpose of academic enhancement. Right understanding. देखिए, just try to understand. In commerce, every day, almost every day, many new things come into existence. I will explain this by giving you a very simple example. Sunil Gavaskar, famous cricketer, and he was so popular, he thought he can easily encash his popularity. So he decided to enter into a business. Started a company whose name was FSL, Food Specialities Limited. What was the purpose of this company? They started manufacturing essences of certain food items, such as garlic, puree essence. And so he bought the first range of garlic essence, tomato puree. In a 3 months time, his company died. Immediately liquid. Now the people started understanding Sunil Gavaskar failed so miserably. The answer came in a very different way. In the late 70s, when Sunil Gavaskar was a very famous popular cricket star, tomatoes were available for 50 paisa kg or 2 rupees. And a tomato puree of 50 ml was available for 8 rupees. Now, who will buy 8 rupees tomato puree or 50 paise ka 1 kilo tomato? In India, people think in a very different way. He failed to understand the psychology of Indian consumers, though he understood the psychology of Indian viewers. And therefore, his company never. To understand, before we enter a market, we must understand. Whenever we read a good research paper, we get a right understanding why people behave or do not behave, why customers accept or repel a particular concept or idea. Very important thing, enlightens about utility. Just another example. Very interesting example. How HMV, his master's wife, it was a very great company of our time, that is my time. East of India Limited, EM. This company was a very dominant company of entertainment with almost 80% market share, some of them record, cassettes, etc. In a small, suddenly realized, he imported one cassette recorder, double cassette recorder from Japan, high quality, and bought some for 3 rupees each. Delhi market. Na bazar ho. What he has done, he copied the cassette and sold for 11 rupees. Immediately people started buying it. It's two movies, HMV 44 rupees, one movie. Gulshan Kumar's T series. It was destroyed by him with an ordinary capital of 10,000 rupees. The company was having a market capitalization of 300 crores, was killed by a man with 10,000 rupees only. Try to understand. So, if we understand how a product really works, then there were many case papers published on Gulshan Kumar's phenomenal success, explaining utility. Yes. Next, please. Innovation, very important thing. Please try to understand. We all often consume many products and services. Don't think that the same product can be made available in a. Recently, I have come across one book. I have a dream.
Dear participants, there's a technical glitch. We've lost power and we shall be coming online very soon. Please bear with us. We'll be joining online in a few minutes. We've lost power. We are trying to get it back. We've got the power back. We shall be online in a few minutes.
हाँ शुरू करें दिस इज ऑन मेरा देख लो चालू है नहीं now more examples and then I will proceed further. So please try to understand what is the advantage of research. Application of a particular existing principle. And many principles thinking theories are in existence. We do not know how to apply them. Rather, we are unaware as to their varied applications. We all know about electricity and electric lamps. But who thought that from ordinary tungsten lamp we can go for CSL, and from CSL we can go for LED? This required lot of thinking and research, and it came in the form of different types of writings by different experts. Now the field of science has become so fast that every day many innovations are coming up. People keep on writing, and their writings are then finally studied by industry, that is from lab to market, and that is research paper comes helps in many ways. Next please. Next जाने दो इसको आगे. Now how we present our ideas to research paper? If at all we want to research paper, three things in mind. First, developing right concept. I will explain this by giving one example. We all have studied or we are studying advertising, and we also have studied advantages and disadvantages, effects of advertising. But how carefully we conceptualize that what kind of advertisement influence people in a positive or in a negative manner? What kind of models shown in the advertisement? What kind of messages and in the advertisement influence people? So no sooner I take a research paper, effect of humor appeals in advertisement on buying behavior of customers. What happened? I immediately conceptualize that I want to study only appeal, and that to a specific type of appeal. And then what I do, I define what is a humor appeal. What are the facets, what are the different aspects of humor appeal which I want to study, which are usually used in advertisement, and then I crystallize my problem. Remember, this is a very difficult process. To write a good research paper, you must have clarity of thoughts and ideas. Whatever concept on which you want to write a research paper, we should understand how it really works. What are the different features and facets of that concept, and what aspects we are going to study. Recently, I have come across one paper published in a very good journal. It is about Pune city. How different types of housing advertisement motivate buyers of ideas.
Hello. Online, they are not available. Okay. They are not audible from this.
अच्छा, okay.
Now, is okay? Huh? मेरे को ये is not required. Where is the mic? अच्छा, इसको ऐसा रखेंगे. ठीक. Now there is one more thing which you should consider while writing a research paper, rather selecting a topic. It should be evaluative in nature. What I mean by that, whenever I take a problem, it can be assessed on by using different parameters. That is, the problem should have a dimension of measuring some results, rather measuring effectivity or utility of the phenomena. Why I have talked about this online system of learning? Because we can measure it. We can assess its impact and utility. Next, please. So what should be the general structure of the research paper? If at all we want to write a good paper, our paper must have these contents: abstract, problem statement, short summary, introduction, background of the paper, need to study the problem, problem definition, contribution of the work, then the main body which includes methodology, data interpretation, validation, discussion, results and relevance, conclusion and references and appendices. Now, if at all our paper satisfies all these norms, then only it will be accepted in good journals. You please go to your library and verify what are the requirements of journal. You will find on the last page of the journal the editor has written a note for the authors or contributors that unless and until your research paper satisfies certain norms, certain requirements, it will not be. Most of the time, these norms include these things. Why these things? Please try to understand. Today, I'm not going to discuss how the papers are evaluated because the audience is not fit for that. But try to understand. Many times, whenever I write a research paper, many readers are not interested in reading the entire research paper. They just want to know what is the focus area. And if they find the focus area interesting, then only they are going to read the entire paper. So how can they know about the key concepts of the paper? Only with the help of abstract. Second thing, many times what happens, the titles of the research paper do not explain what are the contents of the research paper in its totality. So what should I do? I must write a short summary as to what is the focus and total coverage of my research paper. If at all the abstract is not explanatory enough, then people will read the short summary. Third important thing. Now what happens? Just try to understand. I will give only one example to prove my point. There is one topic in commerce which was very popular for almost 10 years. It was titled as CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility. So what happened? I came across at least 15 different theses from commerce and management faculty and not less than 100 papers written on the same concept. But then what was the difference in those papers? The focus area was same every time. If I want to know something new about CSR, I will rarely get a chance. Why? Because the background of the paper explains what the author is interested in writing. The background of the paper tells what are the skills of the author, what is the specific dimension that the author has studied, and how it is relevant. Very important thing is contribution of the work. Please try to understand. Whenever I say I am writing a research paper, it means I am contributing to the field of knowledge. If I am just repeating something which has already been said, then it is not a research paper in true sense. I must add at least one new dimension, at least one new point of thinking, understanding a particular issue. Then my contribution becomes original in the true sense. Second important thing, the data that I have collected, what is the extent of reliability and validity of the data? Please try to understand. I will give one example to prove my point, which is very humorous. Once I have come across a thesis, financial literacy level of women in the unorganized construction sector in Pune. This was the topic of thesis. The scholar has used a questionnaire in English and has collected data from the women who are working on construction sites. Now, please tell me how many women who are working as workers on the construction site can read and write, and how many of them can read and write in English? Then how he got the data? What must be the quality of the data? Validation. Second thing, sometimes we draw conclusions which are extremely reckless and meaningless, which are not close to the ground reality. We just presume and so we interpret. No, that is not the way. That is not the right approach. Why? Because our presumptions are not proved unless until we are having sufficient, valid, and appropriate data. So whenever we draw conclusions based on the data interpretation, there should be a consistency. That is the table, the data given in the table number 6.5 says something this. Based on that, my conclusion is this. If I just say I have concluded this without having a reference to a particular data source, particular point of information which I have already quoted in my analysis, then it will carry no meaning. Next, please. Next, next. Now, so if you really are interested in writing a good research paper, how should you start? First of all, select a right issue, a right problem, which is worth studying and which you can study with your available competencies and capabilities. Many times you will come across problems which are very interesting. But then the question that should come to your mind first, can I collect necessary data? Whether I have competence to analyze the data, whether I can study the right dimension of the problem. If the answers are yes, then you should go for that. Second thing, adopt a specific approach. Just try to understand. For all kinds of research papers, same method of data collection and interpretation is not appropriate. Sometimes you will be using observation method. Sometimes you will be using questionnaire method to collect data. Sometimes you will be using interview method. I will just explain this to you. Many times you have gone to the departmental stores. Have you ever questioned yourself how the owners of the departmental stores or hypermarkets or supermarkets study the consumer's behavior? I have come across one good book on psychology, motivational psychology, The Image Makers. This is a book which you all must read if you want to understand what is marketing. The book has one particular chapter about consumers' behavior and their analysis. The psychologist has studied the behavior of consumers in the departmental stores. And then he came to one conclusion that if you make people hungry, then they will buy more. So he suggested an arrangement, alternative arrangement, to arrange the products in the departmental store, which is now very popular. Food items first, and then all other items, maybe grocery or cosmetics or whatever. Why? No sooner you start looking at food items, automatically your mouth is watered, and you start thinking, "Arey, ye to abhi pehle cake kha lete, baad mein aage jayenge." You may not eat the cake, but still you go ahead with an urge, with a desire. So it automatically develops an impulse to buy something. So that is a result of psychological analysis. Second thing, appropriate research question. Sometimes we may have a good idea, but we may not raise a right question. Please have a right definition of question. Then only you can answer it properly. As very rightly said, when you define the problem correctly, half of the problem is already answered. And therefore, next thing, accept certain critical assumptions. Why we should have hypothesis in research paper? Because they provide us a base, they provide us a ground to analyze data. I start with a, and then I collect the data. I compare my beliefs with the data that I have collected, and then I say my beliefs are either right or wrong. So what I do, I justify my beliefs, which are called as presumptions. If I do not take a hypothesis, I may not be able to conduct the inquiry in a right manner. And most important thing is assembling the data in a right and appropriate form and interpret it in effective manner. Many times we may collect good data. We may have a right set of data, but we may not be able to arrange it in a proper manner. If we fail to arrange the data in a proper manner, we will not be able to draw the conclusion. So that is another important aspect. And most important thing is interpretation. Many times, this is a common problem with many of the research papers, that the data is good, rightly assembled, rightly presented, but the interpretation is wrong. I will just explain it this way. Sometimes we have a tabulated data of respondents according to age group, 10 to 25, 25 to 35, and likewise. Beneath that, what we write is the respondent in the age group of 25 to 35 are maximum or highest in the number, followed by this range and followed by that range. That is not an interpretation. That can be easily seen by reading the paper. Interpretation means identifying the hidden facts and throwing light on them. What is said in the table is known. Not said in the table, but which is important for drawing observations or conclusion is more important. That is right interpretation. Next. आगे चलिए. Now, what are the scientific papers? Research paper is not only of one particular type. All the research papers do not have the same format, do not have the same nature. They vary according to the writer's intentions or objectives, as well as the problem that he has studied. Sometimes we write original article. What it means? A phenomena with very basic first-hand data, which was earlier not studied. Second is case report. I will explain a case report only because it is very important. Just try to understand. For last 5, 7, 10 years, our government is heavily emphasizing on e-governance, online systems. of delivery of various government services. One thing that you might have noticed if you are getting any particular kind of scholarship, it comes now with an arrangement called as DBT, direct bank transfer. So the scholarship, no sooner it is released, very next moment it comes to your bank account. It has brought a systematic change in terms of delivery mechanism, in terms of benefits, and in terms of your beneficiary's response. So many such different types of ideas are now floating. But remember, who brought this idea first? It was Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, the Chief Minister, then Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, who introduced e-governance for the first time. When the idea was floated, most of the IS officers refused to implement, saying that India is not a country where people are literate, people are willing to accept technology, and so therefore this idea will fail. But remember, Chandrababu Naidu said, okay, if the idea fails, no problem, but I will have this system. And I will have a direct talk with every district collector through video conference. The idea worked. Today in India, more than 300 projects of e-governance are launched by different state governments. Recently, I have written a book on e-governance, bringing out what are the changes that are brought by the government. Plus, please try to understand the case studies of all such things give a right vision to people. Then technical notes. Many times a new idea is introduced and it fails. Sometimes it never works as expected. The biometric system in the colleges is a classic example. People come, people thumb, and people go, and people come and people thumb. Isn't it? So why an idea failed? We have to go for a technical analysis. For a pictorial essays, sometimes what happens? We observe things, but when we observe things in a series, in a sequence, we understand the changes that are taking place. I will give a very simple example because I do not have a ready to use example now here. I have seen one advertisement. A man is walking on the road and there is no one on the road. He is all alone. Suddenly, while walking, he sees a note of 2,000 rupees. He is tempted to just pick it up, but he never picks it up. He straightway goes. And he just turns back and sees again whether someone has picked it or not. No one picks it because there is no one following him. A question comes, honestly? And then answer comes, no, strong backache. Use Amrutanjali. Now try to understand. Pictorial essays are written in this way. You study a phenomena, you study a particular event, and you draw conclusions. And sometimes the pictures that you see, the visuals that you see, help you to draw conclusions far different than what we have in our mind. We have never expected that a man is not picking up because of backache. We thought he is honest. He is not honest, yaar. अपने जैसा ही है वो. Then review. Many times some articles are published earlier. Then people read them and then they make a review. What is right, what is wrong, what are the limitations of the writer by giving some other set of evidences. So it is called as review. And then comes commentary. What is a commentary? 10 papers already published on one issue. Then the commentary means summary of these 10 papers. What are the salient features of these 10 papers? What are the areas, issues that are identified? What are the areas and issues that are still left? And how a new research can be undertaken. Next. So the research papers can be of different type. Analytical research papers, cause and effect research papers, problem solution research papers, survey research papers, reports, experimental and argumentative. I will explain these because many of you are interested or maybe will be interested in writing one of these types of papers. What is an analytical research paper? Just one example. Many of you any one of you who is having a farm or who is associated with farming will understand. In Maharashtra, Sharad Pawar, then Minister of Agriculture, has introduced one concept where he encouraged private buying without going to APMs of food products and food grains, even vegetables and fruits. What has happened? It has benefited farmers, especially in select areas, to a great extent because they could bargain, they could have advantage of market price mechanism. Then a paper came, very important paper came. Should we have APMCs or should we change the system of APMCs? And should we have free buying and selling, that is free market operations? Maharashtra government then it accepted as a policy paper and they have gone for free markets. Cause and effect. Sometimes we come across people who believe that certain things are the result of certain particular phenomena, event, or a particular activity happening somewhere else. But when you really understand what were the original causes and what are the likely implications or what are the results of that, you find that there are many other factors, many other dominant factors which are invisible. So a cause and effect paper explains you how a phenomena has occurred, how it influenced, and what are the implications. Problem solution. Just try to understand. We all have hundreds of problems as customers, as citizens, as parents, as students, as children. But then there has to be some solution. Whenever we study a particular problem to find out an ideal solution, what we do, we collect data regarding the problem, its features, its dimension. Then what can be the most proximate or appropriate solution to solve the problem? So that is a problem solution paper. Then survey. Recently in one college in Pune, I have taken a program as to how students can use survey method as a part of add-on program. Now try to understand. Hundreds of types of problems can be studied by many of you by using survey method. Clean India, whether the mission is a success or failure. You just take a survey of some 100 citizens around you in a specific area, find out whether they are aware of this mission, whether they participate in this mission, what are their problems, and why they do not rather adopt a right approach to Clean India idea. This is a survey-based method where we collect data from users, beneficiaries, customers, citizens about a particular topic. We analyze it and we provide with findings. Arguments. I may not have right and appropriate data, but I have a sound logical argument to say something. I extend my argument by giving hypothetical examples or some illustrations. And I say that because I believe in all these justifications, therefore my view is correct. This is argumentative. Experimental. I go to a lab, to a market, to a particular departmental store, and I study the customer's behavior of a particular experiment, and then I draw some conclusions which have a larger application. This is experimental. And then report paper. I study an institution, its phenomena. Just try to understand. Many institutions, many industries have a basic problem of absenteeism, attrition, etc. Why this problem occurs? We can easily understand this by studying the phenomena of that institution. How many workers joined? How many of them have left? What were the reasons? Whether the management relations were poor, whether the salary structure was poor, and likewise, this is report paper. So these are the different ways to write research papers. Next, please. So, what should be the purpose and goal of scientific writing? First, to persuade and accept validity of claim. Whatever I say in my research problem, I should either be able to say yes or no to the answer, conclusion that I draw with the help of data. That is, I pursue. I should justify my findings by making necessary observations, by collecting sufficient data which is logically explained. I should communicate complex ideas, difficult ideas in a very simple and appropriate manner. I should provide sufficient information to say that whatever I have concluded is based on logical thinking, is based on reliable data, is based on valid data, and therefore what I say is correct. And I should provide necessary evidence in the form of responses, in the form of answers given by the respondent, in the form of some actual things that I have found out, so that I can say these are the observations based on these evidences, and therefore this is the content. This is the manner in which you should write the research paper. I thank you all to conclude the session. After 10 minutes, we shall have another session on project report writing. Thank you. You can ask me questions only in the second session now.
Thank you very much, audience. The program is concluded with how to write a research paper. Thank you very much. We shall share the attendance link shortly. All the participants kindly be there. We shall shortly share the attendance link. You will get your certificate on your email. So kindly be there. Hello. Dear participants, we shall share the feedback link. You will get certificate on the WhatsApp group. So I am ending the meeting. The link will be shared on the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much for joining. There is some technical problem, so it will take some time. So we'll share the link shortly on the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much for joining. We are, yes, yeah, I'm sending the link of WhatsApp group. So if you're not joined, you can join here, and then you can leave the meeting. The meeting will be ended shortly.